Palafin is one of the strongest non-legendary and non-paradox Pokemon introduced in Gen 9. With stats similar to those of Slacking, including an attack stat of 160, moves like Bulk Up, Jet Punch, Close Combat, and its only drawback being the fact that it starts the battle in its Zero form before having to switch out to activate its Hero form, Palafin is truly a force to be reckoned with. It's been banned from OU since the beginning, was great in VGC for a while, and is thriving in UU where it's a fan-made metagame. However, there is one metagame where Palafin has stayed since the beginning of SV and was only recently banned, that being ContrarianMons. For those who don't know, a video with a special guest is coming out soon detailing the meta's development and current state, but the gist of it is that Pokemon can only use their lower attacking stat. So, since Palafin's physical attack is 160 and its special attack is 106, it would have to run Special Sense. Fortunately, Palafin has no shortage of special options, allowing it to thrive and even become broken in the ContrarianMons metagame, which we will dive into today. Before that though, I have a warning. The ContrarianMons Council has been threatening to take tiering action against Shootkapow non-subscribers. In light of this, I urge you to subscribe to the channel so that you won't get banned from the ContrarianMons meta. Thank you. Let's start at the very beginning. Before Pokemon Home brought a big uphaul to the tier, Palafin was running its Choice Specs set, and this was when its main form of offense was showcased. Terra Normal Choice Specs Boom Burst off of what was, for the tier, a great special attack stat of 106. Carrying Water-type Stab already and having Ice Beam for great coverage and Draining Kiss to hit Koraidon, it was a force to be reckoned with. It was balanced out well enough by its speed of 100, but still hit anything it could hit hard. Unfortunately, pre-Home saw the rise of Ghost types like Spiritomb and Hisuian Zoroark, and Cantonian Slowking stuffed out its other options, so it was pretty easy to play around once it locked into something. It became much more prediction-reliant, sort of like Metagame. Palafin has always been a strong Pokemon, but unfortunate circumstances ended up making it less powerful than it was today. After Pokemon Home support was released, it wasn't that much different. After the dust of Dragon Dance Hydreigon tearing up the tier settled, the metagame ended up becoming a lot more bulky, almost stall-focused, though certain Pokemon like Landorus T, Medicham, and of course Palafin were able to counter it fairly well. It did well into Moltres and was even able to hit the tier's premier defensive pivot, Gloking, very hard after terastallizing. However, there was one more Pokemon that I failed to mention thus far. Salazzle, with its Corrosion Toxic being able to hit even the likes of Gloking, was all over the place in such a bulky meta. As a result of this, Blissey rose to the top, using Natural Cure and Heal Bell in combination with its other great tools to be an incredible force on bulkier teams. This was also the last straw for Koraidon, who started to run Taunt and Fire Spin to trap and remove Blissey, Gloking, and other bulky mons. As a result of this, Palafin began to struggle quite a bit, relying on swishing and not having any immunities on the opposing team, so it began struggling. Of course, it was never bad, but this meta wasn't serving it well at all. However, over time, Salazzle would begin to fall off, and Blissey would as a result, clearing the way for Palafin to start doing real damage. Through all of the Teal Mask, Palafin was steadily on the rise with no end in sight, to the point that multiple players were voicing concerns of the Pokemon being broken. It would decimate anything that undersped it, could hit its Steel-type resist with Aura Sphere, and the few Pokemon that completely stuffed it out like Decidueye were niche at best. I guess I should finally go in-depth on all of Palafin's good traits. First, and most importantly, it had access to Boom Burst with a special attack of 106, which was good for the format. On top of that, Terra Normal boosted Boom Burst's already incredible 140 base power to 210, and slapping specs on top of that made for an incredibly powerful move. With this combination, Palafin was able to 2-hit KO specially defensive Tentacruel and Gloking. That's not all though, as it could also hit its Steel-type resist with an already stabbed Surf, or even a Hydro Pump, which was stronger than non-Terra Boom Burst with its stab. For Pokemon like Goodra, Hisui, or Empoleon, which resisted both, it could slot Aura Sphere, which was good at chipping them down and nailing them on switches. Palafin had barely any good concrete counters, since nobody's gonna run Decidueye or Hisui and Electrode on every team. Palafin isn't just good offensively, however, since it also has solid bulk for a pure water type at 197-87 and has a respectable speed tier at 100, letting it not only outrun many things, but also outlive them to get off its eruption level damage at any HP range. It has more bulk than Premier Breaker Medicham, better typing than bulkier yet slower specs user Black Kyurem, and lives far more than Pokemon like Greninja, Darkrai, and even Lucario. However, Palafin has one fairly sizable drawback. Its ability, Zero to Hero, forces it to start the battle in a much weaker form. This is often worked around by leading with it, though that can put you in a worse position than you would otherwise be in. But you can also make your opponent think you're leading with it, and then get the jump on them at the sacrifice of not having Hero Palafin right off the bat. Palafin lead mind games were interesting, and not even a particularly bad thing, but the rest of the mon was broken enough to make the decision have a lot of weight. So now that Palafin's gone, what's gonna happen? After all, it suppressed many Pokemon with its incredible damage output. While Fire-type Pokemon like Moltres are likely to rise, as Palafin threatened them the most with both Boom Burst and Water-type Stab. Landorus also did poorly into it, being unable to run Substitute effectively due to Boom Burst being sound-based and bypassing it. These two Pokemon are predicted to be top 5 by both the Council and certain players. However, we also now have a distinct lack of special offense in the tier. So what Wall Breaker will rise to take Palafin's spot? Well, similar to in the Palafin matchup, there isn't really one concrete answer. Nothing fills the do-everything role that Palafin had, but Pokemon like Azelf and Landorus are likely to become better than they were previously. Azelf is famously strong on choice sets, with its Banded set being popular due to being able to pivot, but with Dry Passing being allowed now, which could warrant a whole video of its own, it can run specs while maintaining that ability. Landorus will now also be a solid choice for the team's special attacker, with lots of good traits alongside its best check being gone, such as Intimidate, Nasty Plot, Legendary Pokemon Bulk, and Ground-type Stab. Some newer Pokemon might rise as well, however. Kyurem Black has the potential to serve a similar role that base Kyurem does in OU, only without the threat of Dragon Dance. With high base power moves, access to Freeze Dry to nail the tier's plethora of water types, and a whopping 120 base special attack, Kyurem Black could transcend its lackluster speed stat and be a mon that's able to come in over and over to dish out immense damage. However, its biggest obstacle is likely hazards, requiring very good hazard control to truly reach its full potential. Surprisingly, Raichu serves a similar role to Azelf, but without the legendary Pokemon stats. Being a mixed attacker with a respectable speed stat, access to rare electric-type stab alongside Surf, and being able to use Volt Switch to pivot and moves like Alluring Voice or Terra Blast to hit mons I could struggle with, such as Garchomp. Flygon could be interesting as well, sharing traits with Palafin such as Boom Burst, though its significantly lower attack stat of 80 could hinder it. It has good traits, including Palafin's 100 speed tier, powerful moves and stabs, and not having to worry about hazards like other choice attackers, but we'll have to see how things pan out. Overall, the Palafin ban was very healthy for the ContrarianMons meta, allowing many Pokemon and more suppressed special attackers to breathe and even thrive. If you enjoyed this little look at the metagame, feel free to subscribe and consider joining the meta using the Discord link below. As always, comment below what you think about this Pokemon and whether it deserved the ban or not. Like the video and share it with your friends if you would like, but above all, have a nice day. Until next time, this is Shukabal, over and out.